This episode of The Energy Show is proudly sponsored by Sunlight and Power, the Bay Area's leading commercial and residential solar contractor. SLP has been designing and installing photovoltaic, battery backup, and solar thermal solutions since 1976. Help fight climate change. Go solar with Sunlight and Power today.
So, you want to save the world with clean energy? Make money doing it? Confused about the economic and technical realities of residential and commercial solar, batteries, heat pumps, EVs? Want the real-world scoop on new energy technologies, not manufacturer hype? Then tune in to the Weekly Energy Show, hosted by Barry Cinnamon. Insights from Barry's 40-plus years in the solar and energy industry will help you understand the future ways we'll generate and consume energy. And now, here's Barry.
Welcome to this week's Energy Show. Now, a lot is changing in the solar and storage industry. Products come and go, technologies evolve, and government policies change like the weather, but not fundamental good business practices. So it's my pleasure to have Ed Murray, CEO of Aztec Solar, join me on today's show. Now, Ed's not just an ordinary solar contractor. Ed's president of the California Solar and Storage Association. And believe it or not, he's been on the CALSA board of directors for over 40 years, except for a very brief time when I was there. Anyway, that's another story. He is also on the NABCEP board of directors and previously on the board of directors of SEIA. So very, very active on the policy side. But Ed also has a day job as CEO of Aztec Solar. Aztec's the leading solar, PV, and thermal installer in the Sacramento area. So he knows the technology. But even more importantly, Ed knows how to run a good business. So welcome to the show, Ed.
Hey, thanks, Barry. Thanks for having me today. Yeah, I do want to add, though, a couple of things, Barry.
Yeah?
I am the treasurer of NABCEP also, treasurer of the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners. And I also have another day job where I'm the president of Elm Distribution, which is a distribution product company for solar products for mostly swimming pool industry. So I keep myself busy. I don't golf or fish or anything like that. I just work.
And how many different QuickBooks packages do you have to maintain?
Just one enterprise, a great solution for the business.
But do you have QuickBooks for the other businesses too?
Well, I do for Elm is integrated with Aztec, so we kind of mix them both together. But CALSA is on QuickBooks and NABCEP is on QuickBooks. So it's nice. I have a controller at NABCEP, and we have a great person that takes care of the books, Elise Grande, and who you know, Elise de Grande, who is wonderful and takes care of it. And we go through the books and financials. Even though I'm president, I'm still kind of the treasurer too, because I watch it closely, and that's what it takes to make good business.
And if I recall, you were the treasurer of CALSA when I was the president, and there was basically almost no money. And so it's much, much better now that you're president. It's a lot easier to manage those things from a treasurer standpoint when there's actually money in the bank.
Well, it's always fun when you have the problem of what do we do with this extra money? Do we put it in CDs? Do we put it in investments, safe? And the $250,000, FDIC insurance has now become an issue, which is a great problem to have.
Yeah. Having money is a great problem to have. We'll digress because there's something else I want to talk about later. But anyway, okay. So let's talk a bit about the products carried by Aztec Solar, the markets, the territory, the customers. What does Aztec do?
So Aztec Solar has been in business since 1980. We started in business as a solar thermal manufacturer representative, where we installed solar water heating for residential and commercial. We were what now is called a PPA. We started that as a micro utility solar water heating. And for instance, we would go to University of California, Davis. We'd install solar water heating system on the rooftops of the dorms. We would have a limited partnership where we would guarantee the university a 20% reduction in fuel gas at the time. And the investors would get the tax credits because the university couldn't take the tax credits. We would get the additional savings above the 20% as an investment group. And so everyone home happy. The university got savings, the investors got tax credits and rebates, and we got the business, we got the work, and we were the general partner in a limited partnership. So it was like the beginning of the PPA, that as we know, the power purchase agreement we now have. We did that for quite a few years until, unfortunately, Governor Duke Majan came into town, and then Governor Reagan became president. they both took away the 55% federal and state tax credits. So in 1984, we went from 657 companies in California to 35 overnight. And so at that point, we realized we needed to do something about it to kind of mitigate the black eye the industry was going to have. So we started a solar hotline in California where we were taking care of orphan systems. We got a grant from the California Public Utility Commission, and we'd get calls from customers that had their systems that they had no contractor left. We dispersed these leads and these service calls to the good contractors that were still left in the California Solar Energy Industries Association, and got to know the good ones and the bad ones, and most of them were good. And then we kind of saved the industry. Unfortunately, it did present itself as a black eye, which I hope doesn't happen again because of the demise of the NEM 2, that we don't have to go through that process again, because the legislatures and the government officials always have a long-term memory of, oh, you guys screwed something up. Well, we didn't. It wasn't us. It was the schemes and the rebates that you took away from us that made this happen. You've got to have long-term stability to have an industry that works. We don't have that. It's what they call, the ups and downs of the solar industry. Unfortunately, we have to deal with this. We all need solar for the rooftops and solar for utility scale if we're going to make this electrification in California work. There is no way, absolutely no way, it's going to work without solar everything, because we don't have enough electricity. We have no infrastructure. We have no electricity, or not enough electricity to make this electric vehicles run, electric heat pumps run. It's kind of insane that we even consider that.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that we're abandoning the rooftop solar, which is the cheapest way to deliver power to the buildings and the cars that need it. And then recently I've been reading about that AI is going to gobble up more electricity than everything. And electric prices are just going to go through the roof. We're on the right track in California fixing that. But at the end of the day, you need a balance between utility solar and rooftop solar. So we'll see.
So you've got to go with good companies that have been around for a while, that stay in business through the ups and the downs. We stayed in business because we do also solar water heating, which is solar pool heating, which no rebates or tax credits are involved. People just like it because they can swim in 82-degree water from April 15th to October 15th. So they extend their season a month on either end, and then they can have as hot as they want to in the middle of the summer. It's a great technology. It's simple. It's black plastic panels on a rooftop. The pumps that are existing run the filtered water through the solar panels and heat the pool. It's a wonderful technology. I can tell you, I won't get in a pool unless it's 82 degrees. And the difference between 78 and 82 is me not getting in or me getting in the pool. So we've been doing that for years, ever since the beginning. And then we got into photovoltaic electric cells installations, and we do both residential and commercial. A lot of commercial for new construction now, for not only solar electricity, but for solar hot water. And the solar hot water is actually a smaller footprint on a rooftop for commercial projects than PV. Same amount of output of generation. We count that in therms, not BTUs, but there's a simple calculation that you can do kWs to kBTUs.
Yeah, no, the solar thermal, especially for pools, make total sense. And, when we kind of do a little bit of a fix-up work in our yard, we're going to put those heliocoil thermal pool heaters on so that my kids can swim, so I can swim. That my wife's never going to swim because she doesn't know how, but still, I'd like to use the pool more. But
well, I can tell you, the kids that have swimming pools that have solar on it, or the kids, they have their friends in the block come over to visit, and they swim in their pool, so you can watch your kids. And I know when my kids were little, I always liked to have the neighborhood kids over to see who my kids were hanging out with. And it was always good to have the pool that was used in the neighborhood, even though you worry about them getting hurt. But if you just keep an eye on them, as you should. But it was great to have. And a lot more grandparents are now buying swimming pool solar for their home, even though they don't swim, because they want their grandkids to come over and look forward to swimming in their pool.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to do with the grandkids. And we didn't have a pool at the time while the kids were there, but my wife cooked a lot, so they came over for the food. So either way, but we'll deal with the pool. So in terms of your background, Ed, how did you go from a nice Boston Latin liberal guy to running a solar company in California? Tell me about that transition.
Well, I grew up in Boston in a family of 8 Irish Catholics. We had 4 boys and 4 girls. great to grow up in a family like that. I don't think anybody can afford that nowadays because I had two and I couldn't afford that. But we had a great relationship with our brothers and sisters. And I, at 17, 18 years old, had a girlfriend from Milton, Massachusetts that decided to move out to California with her parents. And they moved out here and I chased her out to California. It was a good move for me. I didn't catch her. She's been married more times and she has rice marks on her forehead. So I'm glad I didn't catch up with her. I caught a nice wife and we've been happily married for some 32 years now. So I chased the girl and I was going to school back in Boston, but I moved out here and transferred to school out here. So Barry, I was working in a lumber yard when I was going to school and a gentleman came in who was a contractor and he said, "Hey, would you like to put in solar water heating with me? And, I need a helper." And I said, I'd like to try that. It sounded good. Jerry Brown was the governor at the time. I was big in green. I was a green liberal, and I decided to go to work for this gentleman, and we did some installations, and I was hooked. And that company that he worked for, I worked for as an installer, and then a pre-site engineer, designer, and then a service technician. So I worked in Sacramento and I also worked in Walnut Creek for a year. And then that company went out of business, realizing at the time that there was an opportunity because of the customer list was not being attended to. I took the customer list and ran with service. I got together with the gentleman that was a design engineer and he went to RPI, Rents Polytechnical Institute in New York. RPI is in New York, I think.
Troy. Yep.
And so he did the engineering side, I did the business end of it. We started in business. We got a plumbing contractor to sign on as the contractor for us. And we went to town on residential and the commercial water heating systems. We went up and down. He left the state of Scott Williamson, left the state in 1995. And so I went on my own at that point. And I've been doing it on my own ever since. We went and sold our company to a German company in 2007. In 2008, I bought it back because they had some financial insecurity, and so I bought them back. I've been doing it ever since.
Well,
it's been wonderful.
It boils down to you're just really smart. You got really good business skills and really good instincts, and that kind of helps you navigate the ups and downs of the solar industry. But from a technology standpoint, how do you go about selecting products from manufacturers? Price, reliability, features, manufacturer stability? I mean, what are the important characteristics?
Well, certifications are important. So if you're looking at electric systems, you want to make sure that UL listed, you want to make sure they have the proper certifications. You want to check around with the other people that have installed them and, call them up and say, "Hey, is this easy to install? Is it hard to install?" Being in the industry, fortunate to be able to talk to a lot of the company CEOs like yourself and realize if there's a bad company or a system that's not very manageable or there's been a lot of repair work. What the worst thing that can happen is I install a system for a customer of ours and the product breaks down, because that's not really my problem, but it is. It reflects back on me. I want to make sure that the customer is happy, and I'll do anything it takes to make that customer happy. If there's a problem with the existing system that I've installed, it goes to the top of the service pile. It's beyond the ones that I get paid for. It goes to the top because we want to make sure that customer's happy. It has to be. They have to be happy.
Yeah. And what I found is that the customers for whom you bend over backwards and fix the manufacturer's problems on your own become your best advocates.
Yeah, and then you'll get more. And the best lead source is a referral source, as you probably know.
Yeah.
We have Google AdWords and we have radio, we have television, but I can tell you the referral is the strongest lead out and the best, because the people actually, they've gotten firsthand that we did a good job. And that's, at the end of the day, I can sleep better.
Yep.
Because we do a good job.
Yeah. It's the same thing with us, and those referrals are key. The recommendations are key, making sure the customers are happy. And then the other good thing about the referrals is they're not always the people that are searching for the lowest price. And, when you're bidding against like 3 other contractors with an online bid, you're going to end up with a price that may be good for the customer initially, but there's no way that those companies are going to be able to service that equipment. And it's unlikely, or more likely, that those low price installers are not going to be around in a few years to support the system.
Well, that's what we call a race to the bottom, which we don't want to do.
Yeah.
We're fair and we want to be in business. We treat our employees well. We've had employees that are there from 15 to 25 years at the business. We have great installers. We pay benefits and 401k and good salaries, and we want to make sure they're happy. And we're kind of a family, because I tell the employees, you spend more time here than you do at home. You spend, this is our family here, and we want to make sure you're happy. So we have happy employees, and it usually goes pretty well.
Yeah, same with us. All right, there's this thing called NABCEP. What is NABCEP? What does NABCEP stand for, and why is it important to the growth of the solar and storage industry?
Well, it's a mouthful. It's a North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners. And this was formed years ago because we had a need for certification of the installer. We realized that we needed more than just the certification of equipment. We also needed the certification of the installers themselves. So that it's very technical. You need continuing ed credits to make sure that you stay informed of the latest, greatest technologies, which, as you know, is every day something new comes along and some new technology. And some of them are pie in the sky, but there's some tried and true stuff out there that the customers are very happy with. So these installers get training through either the industry education or the manufacturers give CE credits out. I just came from North Carolina, where we had the annual conference, and where there were 1,000 installers there. It was wonderful to see all these people that really care about installing systems right. They're all high level, high quality installers. I'm very fortunate to be involved with them. My friend Les Nelson, who's passed away, used to be the treasurer, and he kind of got me hooked into it and got me on the finance committee. And I think he was grooming me to be the treasurer, because that's where I am now. He also groomed me to be the president of CALSA, because prior to that, he was, as you were, Barry, president of California Solar Energy Industry Association. So I think he was setting me up.
Les is such a legend. I mean, he taught so many people. He guided so many people. He guided the industry. We just miss him tremendously. But NABCEP is great. I had dinner last week with one of my former Akina employees, and she was the very first female that was approved at NABCEP. It's probably back when they started. So it's grown phenomenally since then. Well, NABCEP's kind of a solar policy thing, but you direct a lot of your time, especially with CALSA and some of the other organizations, to policy. Why is that? Where's the value for you, and how does that help the industry?
Well, the policy is where we get rebates and tax credits and such. If we don't have that, it's difficult, although it's getting better, to pay back for versus the electricity rates that you're paying now, where we need that extra to get the people to install the systems. So the other part of it is that if you're not at the table, you're going to get eaten. And these companies that are out there that are trying to eliminate our business, which is the utility, even the California Public Utility Commission, which is all utility-backed people that are on that board, it's tough because you fight them. The license level, the state license board, they are trying to allow just licensed, certified union workers who don't really know what they're doing as far as installing batteries go, installing batteries. Well, we have great C46 license that we've created in 1980, and it's just a solar license that is more qualified than electricians that know this stuff backward and forward, and have been installing batteries in the field for since the late 80s, when they had the remote. A lot of pot farms, for instance, had a lot of batteries and standalone off-grid solar systems. And so we cut our teeth on it. And so, unfortunately, the union-run utility companies don't want to see our guys succeed, and they would rather see large-scale utility-owned systems installed, because they are cheaper, but they're not as effective as rooftop direct to your power grid than these utility scale that are out in the desert, long lines of transmission that they have to go through backyards that the NIMBYs don't like, then the desert owl and the spotted turtle and all the stuff that goes along with it. Again, we have to have it all. We need utility scale, we need rooftop, we need water heating, we need everything that we can throw at this. This is a huge problem. Yeah. So a lot of the people that I know, they tend to be on the other side of the fence from me with red hats, but they say, "Why do you care, Ed? Why do you care?" And I said, "Well, I'd like my kids not to have to worry about not having clean air and not having electricity or brownouts or blackouts. And he said, well, we have enough for our generation, don't we? And I said, we probably do. He said, so again, why do you care? Well, that's kind of short-sighted. And that's what the problem is with this country, is that we think about today and not tomorrow. And we need to start thinking more about tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing when, I think the economics are changing with electricity. Obviously, you see it happen with the escalation of electric rates. It's just going through the roof here in California and elsewhere. But when you look at the costs for solar and storage in the desert from one of those large utility farms, 2 cents a kilowatt hour, and the utilities crow about that, and people used to say, well, it's much cheaper. Well, it's so easy to burst that bubble because you look at the average electricity prices of California for residences and commercial, it's like 30 or 40 cents. So where's the difference? The difference is in all the transmission costs and all the wildfires and all the maintenance and all the utility profits. And somebody puts solar on the roof, the life cycle cost of that is going to be, solar and storage, 8 to 10 cents. So economics is catching up.
And the warranties are 25 years on some of the equipment that we have. It's phenomenal what we can put in now and lasts, and it's pretty bulletproof, and the batteries are good. You have power when your neighbor doesn't have power. It's just a great way to go. You talk about utility companies. I mean, the investments or the CEOs are making so much money, even though they're saying that they need to raise rates. It's incredibly short-sighted what we're doing here. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of the politicians go along with it because they're being bought by them. Yep. And I don't want to name names, but one of the top executives in the politics are being bought by the utilities.
Yeah. Well, we got the list. So looking into your crystal ball, how long is it going to take for California solar industry to recover from the recent end of net metering? What's your guess?
I think we're already starting to see it because we've realized that we need to install batteries. So our business has gotten back to pre-NEM 3 sales now because we've started to attach batteries to a lot of the systems. I think we're at 60% of our projects are now installing batteries, which are great because then you can mitigate the time of use from 5 to 8 in Sacramento for PG&E. You can power up your batteries during the daytime, and then from 5 to 8 you can dump the batteries. And then what's great about the software technology is that you can go on standby. If there's a storm coming, your batteries will just be ready for backup, so that the software tells the batteries, hey, there's a storm coming, we're going to have to shut off the arbitrage that you can not dump in from 5 to 8. You're going to save this power, and it's going to be ready for these people to have lights on for a couple of days with the solar. Yeah. So it's a wonderful technology. I can tell you from my own standpoint, my neighborhood, we've had a power outage about 2 months ago, and it was unbelievable because the neighbors were knocking on my door. Why do you have lights? We were out for a week.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. No, we're getting the same thing down here in Silicon Valley. It really does. The utilities are doing a great job of delivering unreliable, expensive power, and solar and battery are kind of the cure for that. All right. Well, for people who want to get into the solar and storage industry, what advice do you have for them?
Take it slow and make sure you get trained up. Go talk to manufacturers, talk to other contractors, get involved with the California Solar and Storage Association. We have a bunch of great people that are willing to share. Even if they're your competitor, they're willing to share with you their stories and their successes and their failures. It's just a great group of people that are involved in that. And then our executive director, Bernadette Del Chiaro, will also help out. And a great team of people that work there that we've built up over the years. Like Barry said, when Barry was president, I think our budget was $35,000 a year, and that was scratching everything we had together, and now it's gotten a lot bigger than that. And we've been successful, and we, again, under the tutelage of Barry and myself, we watch the funds and we don't spend it if we don't have to, so we can have it for a rainy day fund. And that's part of being a successful business. You don't go out and buy a bunch of new trucks and new equipment because you've had a successful year. You watch it and this could potentially downturn. We've got to be careful, and you've got to watch the numbers. What's great about the bookkeeping systems nowadays is you can push a button every morning, and I do it every day when I go into work, and see where my books are at. It used to be I'd have to ask the bookkeeper, and it would take 2 weeks to get a set of books up. Now it's instantaneous, so I can keep an eye on it. I have virtual VPN, so I can do it at home on the weekend and go into my server at my office, and I check, where are we at? Who's not paying us? Who's paying us? And so it's been a wonderful transition from the old days of green ledger sheets to computers.
Yeah. Those accounting systems. I've been lucky. I've been only doing solar for about 25 years and, started off back in 2000, 2001 with QuickBooks and Salesforce, and that's been terrific. But kind of going back, you've been in the solar industry as long as anybody I know. What do you do for fun besides check the QuickBooks balance?
Well, this is about it. I'm sorry. We have 75 employees now. I just enjoy the people that I work with. I have a wife at home and 2 children. One's an engineer in New York at Hello Tushy. It's a bidet company. And my daughter's a master's in MSN. She's a nurse for public health in Sacramento. She's a bleeding heart like myself. And so she goes out and takes care of people that have less than we do. And we're very fortunate that she gives back, because she could be a bedside nurse making twice as much, but she cares about people. So I've been very fortunate. My wife has just retired as a hairdresser, closed down the salon, fortunately, after 45 years. And we're in transition. So we're looking for the next adventure.
Yeah,
but I don't know what I'd do without what I've got. Going into the office every day, I enjoy it. I love pulling up to the office. I love seeing the people. We have Christmas parties and Thanksgiving parties, and we have St. Patrick's parties. We just have a great time at the office. So my life is my job.
Yeah. Ed, it's the same with me. I love the people I work with. I love coming to work. It's gratifying to see the happy customers, and it's also gratifying to see the business continuing to grow. How can people get in touch with you at Aztec Solar?
Well, my email address is ed@aztecsolar.com, ed@aztecsolar.com. And my cell phone number, because you can always reach me on my cell phone, is 916-601-3069. And I'm always available. Unfortunately, sometimes too early and sometimes too late.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ed, terrific. I value you so much as a leader and a friend. And thank you so much for joining us. And that's all the time we have on this week's Energy Show. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in. And if you missed any of today's show, you can go to the Energy Show website at energyshow.biz and listen to the podcasts.
This episode of The Energy Show was proudly sponsored by Sunlight and Power, the Bay Area's leading commercial and residential solar contractor. SLP has been designing and installing photovoltaic, battery backup, and solar thermal solutions since 1976. Help fight climate change. Go solar with Sunlight and Power today.